We're taking a look at Smart Comp 2 from Sonible. Smart Comp 2 is a spectral dynamic compressor that has some AI processing in it that help you get to your results faster and in a very transparent way. Let's take a look at the controls. This was sent to me by the company to review. All right, so of course at the top here you have various profiles for the smart part of the plugin, right? Next to this you have the record button, which essentially this learns the parameters for the signal that is being fed, and that's based off of these separate profiles, right? If for whatever reason you get yourself lost in the controls and want to return back to what was recorded here, this button does that. All right, these are various states that you can put the plugin into. So if you have a number of settings, this is kind of like the A/B thing, right? All right, this is the preset area. Okay, you can save your presets. You got an undo, a redo. You have up here settings behind the scenes, so you can set the input gain after learning. You can enable auto gain after learning, show the tooltips, and use the OpenGL option. We have an external sidechain option. You can put it in stereo or mid-side mode. You can listen to the inverse of what the plugin is doing by choosing Delta. Channel link is the stereo, right? Whether you want the plugin to compress the stereo as one whole unit, or if you wanted to compress the independent stereo channels by themselves. Ratio, you should know what a ratio is if you're messing with a compressor. All right, your threshold here, your usual attack and release are here. However, they get a little deeper than that. All right, you do have the ability with the release to set it to auto, but you can change the hold and the shape of the release. All right, from here. So that's perfect option. As you just seen me click, that was the reset button down here, and you have the bypass button here. You also have some additional points that are called transfer functions here, where you can move these around. I haven't gotten that deep with the plugin because, well, just haven't had that much time, right? Over here to the left, you have templates, standard, balance, mid, expanding the mid, squeeze the mid, parallel compression, and noise gate. At the bottom here, you can pause the histogram, which is what this is here. You can reset the histogram by clicking that, okay? At the bottom, you have an internal sidechain filter that you can modify the frequencies. Here, if you click the arrow button, you can see the various options that you have in here to modify how you want the compressor to react. Most controls, if you double click them, they reset to their default position. You can listen to the sidechain with this button. All right. Down here at the bottom, once you have set the smart portion of the compressor to capture your signal, these will become active, and you can change the style of compression from clean to dirty, how much of the spectral compression you want to influence the compression. All right, and you'll see all of that in a moment, and then whether you want it dark or bright. Spectral link, control the amount of spectral limitation for the broadband compression. 0 spectral limitation means full broadband compression outside of spectral compression range. 100 means no compression outside of spectral compression range. So my understanding is once the smart portion has captured what it thinks to be, based off of the profile, the correct compression settings, then leaving this at 0 will give you regular full broadband compression to those things that are outside of the compression range, and just the opposite if you put it on 100. And of course you can adjust it in between the two. To the right, we have our input metering, and you'll see that activated once we get started. To the right of that, we have the output metering. All right, so these are two separate meters here. The middle area you will see, and you can kind of see where it starts here, is the gain reduction. So you'll see how much gain reduction as a level function within this middle area, and you can change the scale of all of this right here. Now, you can also do auto volume, so that kind of keeps it, if it gets too loud, it's supposed to keep the two fairly even between the input and output. There's also this input writing section. It kind of keeps your signal consistent from the input, right? You can also change your input level here, and if you look to the far left, you can see this little white line that is changing. That is how much input signal that you are giving it. How much wet signal versus dry signal is done here. All right. And then if you don't have this on auto, you can do the same with the output. And you can see the white section over there moving. Again, double click any control as stated to reset it. All right, that's a brief overview of the controls. Here is the record that we'll be using for the review.
Sometimes I feel like I'm playing your fool. La 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 la. Most times it's not, but then sometimes it's cool. Sometimes I feel like I'm playing your fool. La 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 la. Most times.
All right. Now, as you can see, we got a pretty good balance. I think it's, it's decent for a quick little mix that we kind of whipped together for the purpose of this review. We'll start with the kick drum, as that is the one that I have activated here. I'm going to hit the reset button just to get it back to its default state, and then let us select kick from the drums. I'm going to hit record, and we're going to hit play.
Sometimes I feel like I'm playing your fool. La 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 la.
You can see the meter is running across every time the kick drum comes in. All right. So this is what it looks like once you've captured a signal using the smart portion or the AI portion of the plugin. So it has, in its determination, decided that a 3.7 to 1 ratio is good for this kick drum at a negative 36 decibel threshold. All right. And then its various attack and release settings. All right. So let's play this kick in solo. And let's take a look at what's going on here. Is shaving off the tops by about 6 decibels, right? And down here at the bottom is showing you the spectral content. So the spectral knob here has boosted itself up to around 100. So we'll leave that for that right now. We're going to go ahead and move on to the snare drum. Well, this is what I'm going to do. I am going to capture everything in here, right? All of the tracks, just to see what it does. I know it's not necessarily a good thing to put compression on everything, but let's be surprised by what it does. This is not necessarily how you would use it, but if I'm trying to get control of all of my tracks, I may put a little compression on everything just to get control of it. All right, so I'm going to go through the process of capturing every single instrument here. So let me knock this out real quick. Be careful with this plugin because I had approximately 7 or 8 instances open and Cubase froze. And apparently that is because of the nature of the graphic engine. It's using OpenGL. So I sort of ran out of GPU processing. It was up to 50% just from those instances. And I'll show you here. Right now, GPU wise, Cubase is using 3%, right? So if I go here and I open up, I'm just going to open up a few instances. So this is 3 instances of Smart Comp 2. It is now using 35 to 37% of the GPU. So be careful with that because it can freeze your system. So we'll close those out. And then I'm going to start these. So I'm going to hit record there. And I'm just going to load up each one of these. And then I'll be back with the results of these. All right. We got all of our smart comps profiles cooked, as I'm calling them. Let us do a full bypass of all of the tracks.
Sometimes I feel like I'm playing your fool. La 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 la. Most times it's not, but then sometimes it's cool. Sometimes I feel like I'm playing your fool. La 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 la. Most times it's not, but then sometimes it's cool.
And bypass that again.
Sometimes I feel like I'm playing your fool. La 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 la. Most times it's not, but then sometimes it's cool.
All right. Very interesting. Now, I am going to solo the drum bus here. And let's just focus on that right now and see what's going on with this instance of it. Because there was something that was bothering me with this. And that kind of explains it right there. So let me bypass it. There is well, let's see. It seems to be doing better now. All right. Not bad. About 5 decibels of reduction. Right there. That's what's bothering me. When the time, and it could be just that my toms are too loud, but on the bus, it seemed to do too much compression, of course, because there's a lot of information there. So with that, and it's right at the beginning, right? So look at the reduction meter here, right? It's doing 8 decibels of reduction when the average is 5, right? We're around 4 or 5, okay? So that means that I need to, at the least, do some adjustments here, maybe 4 decibels. So let me undo that. So right now it's at 35, right? So I'm going to bring this up to 30. That's about 4 decibels, right? Around there. Okay. 4 to 5 decibels. So let me see what it does with this in the beginning. Now it's doing 6. So I'm going to bring it up just a little bit more. Of course, now we have a less compression going in on the average. But if you notice, it did not jump all the way up to none. And it's a little bit more cleaner now. All right, so let's dabble with some of this stuff. What is this doing here? I want to say this is soft because it looks like when I bring it down, the line itself. Let me see if I can kind of exaggerate this. It's kind of hard to tell. All right. And if you click this button, it restores it back to the settings that it found from the jump. All right. So we'll just keep it right here for right now. So let's mess with some of this other stuff here. Now you have these templates. So if we change this to standard. All right. I'm going to bring this up just still a little bit more. Not looking for a huge squashing of my transients. All right. So I'm going to change this to. Okay. Balanced mid. Now at the top here, you can see where it's doing an actual reduction. And that's kind of tied in with the wow. So that made a huge difference on that part there. But you can see where it's tied in with the gain reduction here and what is being reduced. So right now, not a lot of the information because I changed this to balanced mid. Not a lot of the transient information is being changed. So let's change this to expand mid. Now it's doing a lot of compression. And it's still tearing into that one section because it's a lot of information in there, right? Let's try squeeze mid. Now I would imagine because of the other one, it's going to attack that portion. Ah, it did not. Very interesting. So let me bring this down and let's just see what it does. Okay. All right, so it's still punching it a little bit. Let's try the next one. This is parallel compression. So it's keeping the original and layering on top of it, I imagine. Let's see. Does it give you, I don't think it gives you any, it doesn't give you any info. Okay. So I'm going to squeeze this all the way down, right? Interesting. All right, so that's not usable in that way. With parallel compression, and you do have the option to do wet here. I think perhaps with the parallel compression, you're supposed to use it in combination with the two, right? So if I was really smashing this, right, this is wet right now, right? So there's no compression going on right now at all that you can hear. So if I turn up, of course, what we have over here, it's supposed to layer the wet portion on top of the dry portion. So maybe that's how that's supposed to be used. At any rate, noise gate. Now, perhaps with this, let me see something here. So it's not changing the actual threshold. Interesting. So the one I've liked so far is the squeeze mid. Raise this up some. All right. So down here at the bottom, you have the style. You want it to be more dirty, right? And not necessarily in like a lo-fi way, but as far as the compression itself. And then of course, color, more bright. More dark. And you know what? I'm going to change this back to, no, we had it on squeeze mid. I'm going to change it back to standard. Matter of fact, here, let's do this. Let's put it back there. All right. Then I'll change that to standard. And back off the style here, and you can see what's changing at the top. So as we go to dirty, there is very little, if any, compression going on. And it tells you tight and punchy sound when you go to dirty, right? More transparent and clean sounding on this side. But it's definitely compressing. Now the spectral is all about this guy at the bottom here. We're showing you how much of that information is being tamed. And then, of course, we have our attack and sustain here. And I'm going to change the scale so that we can see more of that information. So I'm going to take this auto off. Just mess with this thing. And it even has a tempo function for, that's very interesting. And then, of course, our attack. It's doing almost nothing. There we go. It's just straight slamming it, I guess. There we go. Here is real sharp. All right, let's take a look at the sidechaining function of the plugin, right? We have here the instance of Smart Comp 2 from the music bus, and I am going to activate the sidechain function, which is this setting here, the actual sidechain source. And then once I activate external sidechain, it will now react off of the vocal track as opposed to the input signal that's coming from that music bus. And so here in the plugin, what you'll see is a blue line that represents the sidechain signal. That'll be coming through, and then you'll see just how this affects the signal.
Sometimes I feel like I'm playing your fool.
All right. So now we can increase.
Most times it's not, but then sometimes it's cool.
And let's get a little extreme so we really see what we're doing here.
Sometimes I feel like I'm playing your fool. Most times it's not, but then sometimes it's cool.
It's pushing back on the music bus. We don't want it that extreme, of course.
Sometimes I feel like I'm playing your fool.
We want it where it's giving just a little bit of breath for it, a little bit of space.
Sometimes it's not, but then sometimes it's cool.
All right, so let's unsolo everything and let everything play.
Sometimes I feel like I'm playing your fool.
And I'm going to turn the background tracks down a little bit.
Most times it's not, but then sometimes it's cool. Sometimes I feel like
Then we'll
I'm
adjust.
playing your fool. Most times it's not, but then sometimes it's cool.
And then, of course, you have the option here to turn on the sidechain EQ. Now, if you just want to hear what the sidechain sounds like, that's what this button's for.
Most times it's not, but then
Now,
sometimes it's cool.
what I don't want really is the low end to be affected too much.
Sometimes I feel like I'm playing your fool. Most times
See how
it's
it's
not,
affecting
but
that?
then sometimes it's cool.
If you want to back off some, you can do it from here.
Sometimes I feel like I'm playing your fool.
And I think most of the clarity will be around here.
Most times it's not, but then sometimes it's cool. Sometimes I feel like I'm playing your fool. Most times it's not, but then sometimes it's cool.
Essentially what you're hearing is the lead vocal has a pocket. And in that pocket, everything is kind of getting out of the way, right?
Sometimes I feel like I'm playing your fool.
It's not extreme.
Most times it's not, but then sometimes it's cool.
Right.
Sometimes I feel like I'm playing your fool.
All right, so that's its function on the sidechain option, which I think is very useful for carving out space in between tracks and unmasking things. If you're interested in getting your copy of Smart Comp 2 from Sonible, check the link in the description. Until next time, stay tuned.